before we start this session, I would like to ask a small question. How many of you are familiar with deep reinforcement learning or just reinforcement learning in a matter of fact? Yes, that's quite an audience. That's good. So I can expect some hard questions in the end. Yeah, so as I said, I'm a research associate and a PhD student at Technische Hochschule Ingolstadt. And my research focus, the domain is with deep reinforcement learning, and the application that we are focusing as a group is with autonomous driving as a end goal. And the main highlight of my research is with or the research question that I want to address in my PhD is how do I improve the robustness of deep reinforcement learning model considering the adversarial attacks and defenses. Adversarial attacks and defenses, maybe it might be new to many people. So let's assume there's some sort of a computer virus, and what do you have against it? An antivirus, correct? So it's something like that. But here we talk about adversarial attack, and as an alternate or like a defense mechanism, we use the adversarial defenses against these attacks. So what do I mean by adversarial attack? In a computer virus, some hacker or some external agent will be attacking the system or like inducing some sort of viruses into the system, right? And then you use some sort of an antivirus, say, I don't even remember the companies now, maybe Avant or something like that. And so now they use these antivirus technologies to fight against these things. In terms of deep reinforcement learning or with AI itself, there are some external agents that can attack the neural network itself, or even the neural network can also be fooled by itself. What do I mean by this? Let's go with some examples to start. This is a panda image, and when this was passed to a classifier, the classifier detected itself to be a panda, yes, with a 57% confidence, which is still good. But when the same image, which was classified as panda with a 57% confidence, when you introduce some sort of a small noise into this, what happened was the same classifier detected this one to be a gibbon, but it looks like a panda for us, right? So that's the best example that I can give you when it comes to adversarial attack. You might wonder, dude, this is just an image, so why is it so important and why do you talk about this? Here comes the interesting part. I think all of you know Waymo here, so right? So self-driving taxi company from US, it's from Google as well. So let's say there's this Waymo car traveling across the streets of California or like in San Francisco, and then there are some cameras that uses perception. When the camera perceives the stop sign, and in normal condition, it classifies this itself to be a stop condition, correct? But when I kind of introduce some sort of a noise, it might detect itself to be yield sign. I know stop sign and yield sign is not a big thing in India, but in Germany it is. Trust me, I'm the one who took license very recently, and I know how hard it is to identify stop sign and yield sign. So this is where my research comes in, and today let's discuss something more. In order to show you some experiments that I wanted to pursue and how my research is going on, I just took some. How many of you know gymnasium environments? So, like if you are into RL, you might know the gymnasium environment. So there are like several environments available as a library. You can just utilize that, and then you can just train your RL agent on it. And so I'm using this highway ENV you can see here. And of course, you can also refer to the citation later on when you get the presentations. So this particular library has different situations, like this is like the merge situation, this is like the roundabout, this is like the parking situation, intersection, and as well, like you can also, if you're a fan of F1 race, I'm a fan of F1, so you can also train your RL agent to be running here as well. To be easier from my side, I just went with this highway ENV. It's still not too complicated, not too easy as well. So it basically has the state space is called the continuous state space, and the action space is like discrete action. So it's good for me to train the agent a little bit. So the architecture of DRL looks like this. We have the neural network itself, like normal deep neural network, and this is the agent that you can see here. The green one is nothing but this one. And what happens is, in normal condition, there are like several algorithms in deep reinforcement learning. You can use PPO, you can use DQN, SAC, there are much more. And I'm not going to go into each and everything and bore you out. So if you're interested in RL, we can of course talk later about these things. But basically, the neural network will predict some sort of an action that will be sent to this environment, and then the agent takes the next step, say from t to t+1, and then it gives out the new state and also gives out the reward if it's positive or negative. If you train a dog, if it does some good action, you give it a positive reinforcement. If not, you give it a negative reinforcement. It's the same logic. For those who don't know reinforcement learning, this is like the basic concept of reinforcement learning. So you then pass it on to the neural network, and then this continues. This is how the architecture works. But how does the architecture look like when I am experimenting with adversarial attacks? Where there is this dude coming up. Yeah. So you can see these hackers, like not per se hacker. I'm just, you can you can also use just a basic noise or something like that in this. So for example, there's an action AT, and then when it comes out of this attack, it's called AT plus epsilon. Epsilon is the noise that you add to this perturbation, right? And then you can also, of course, you can perturbate the state space. You can perturbate the neural network itself. Of course, there are like multiple types of adversarial attacks, and there are multiple types of defenses as well that you can employ and experiment with your deep reinforcement learning agent. To show you something, I think this is interesting for me. Maybe you can tell me later. So what I did was I trained a vanilla DQN model with this. I got the, I think I ran it for like 6,000 episodes, trained it way better. And then there is this another concept called adversarial training. Adversarial training is one such defense technique which I mentioned in the earlier stage. The adversarial training is nothing but, during training you saw the vanilla DQN, right? So this is like the adversarial DQN. So during training you just give some random noises to the state perturbation, and then see if the model learns the pattern and then detects in the later part if it's like a adversarial perturbation or not. And then this is like the most effective defense technique that's till date, and I'm really working on my experiments to prove that no, this is not the effective one. There are way more better ones. Let's hope I finish that and my paper gets published on that, because I need my PhD. So for this, some experimentation. So as I said, I trained a vanilla DQN, and then I need to evaluate this. So I took the inference model and then put it onto the environment, and so there were like two situations. One was no attack situation, and then one was I induced some sort of a noise. In this case, I'm using this FGSM. So it's basically fast gradient sine method. Again, like most of you might know who are into ML and stuff. So I'm inducing some sort of noise to the state perturbation to see what happens. You can see the blue pattern that here are like the reward structure that is when that we are getting without any attack. But you can see the decline in the red streak, which is nothing but when there's some sort of adversarial perturbation, and I can see that the cars go and hit onto the other cars or goes out of the roadway or something like. I think the car's just a little bit stressed and it's committing suicide. So then I wanted to show you like what happens when there's a defense. So as I said, the adversarial training itself, the adversarial trained agent, when it put onto an evaluation, so I think I evaluated for like 500 episodes, it was still like, you can see here, right? So you can see the previous ones, which was like the reward structure is good, and you can still see the same thing here, which is what the defense can do against the attack itself. Then comes, for your comparison, this was our FGSM attack. This was the no attack situation, and this is the one with the adversarial training. You can still figure out that you can see some decline in the reward structure here. So it's basically because there are still some sort of adversarial perturbations that's happening when it's being evaluated, but even though the agent gets all the adversarial perturbation and tries to make some other stupid move, somehow it's figuring out that it needs to be aligned and it needs to gather some positive reward. So that's the beauty of adversarial training. And I just have some nice video. I think it's nice for me. So you can see here, it's more definite. The agent exactly knows where it has to move. And all these three videos are happening during evaluation metric. Okay. So you can see here the evaluation is pretty smooth. You can see here, as I said, the agent is not too stressed and it's committing suicide. So it knows that it could just travel straight, but it's just going on hitting to the other vehicle or like other agents that's there. And here you can see the defense oriented adversarial trained agent that's happening. You can still see it makes some useless moves, but still somehow it retains its knowledge and it tries to, no, as RG trained me, I want to just be perfect with all the situation. So it's trying to be perfect, but still you can see there's a little bit of decline in reward. Still it's better. These are the experiments that I wanted to show you today. There should be one question that even occurred to me since I'm working on reinforcement learning. You guys are working on simulations, that's fine, but when do you have to, when will you work on the realistic environment? That's where the scenario happens, right? So luckily in my research group we have several cars with sensors and stuff. So my next step would be to test all these deep reinforcement learning and adversarial attacks and defenses research onto the real vehicle and prove that embodied AI can also be like bridge the gap between simulation to the real gap. That's where I'm trying to head to. Let's hope I will finish it off. And then it's going to be a short presentation, as I said. If at all you want to get in touch with me, you can of course get in contact with me. And also, if you want to debate against why you think reinforcement learning is not the best thing, of course you might have read the DeepSeek R1 paper. So they use reinforcement learning as well. So I'm happy in this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So do we have any questions?